Hello and welcome to the Monsters, Myths, and Mayhem podcast. I'm Silver, and
I'm
with me,
chaotic. Ha ha ha!
ha 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 ha.
With me is shit. Jesus, I hate it here. I'm done. Already done. We're over.
It's episode 22 of the show. Can't believe we're this far along.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, thanks everybody for listening. But today's episode topic, you all voted on Twitter. It seems like a good interactive way for our audience to vote on what our subject is for the next week. Don't you think?
Yeah, I like it a lot. Letting them kind of control it seems fun.
The Oni was the winner of this poll. And do you know much about the Oni?
So I'm actually super excited for this one because I do know a little bit of stuff about the Oni, but there's also an Oni in DBD. So very excited to talk about this today.
The Oni is widely used in many TV shows, video games, movies. It's been adapted into various different things. It's mainly comes from Japanese culture. It has some roots in like India and China as well, based on the Buddhism. They say that you can find him in hell, in remote mountains, caves, islands, and abandoned fortresses. His diet consists of mostly people and also eats livestock, drinks a lot of alcohol, seems to favor human children, but they say he could be an omnivore as well. I guess technically, if you're drinking alcohol, you're still getting your veggies or your wheats. Not strictly meat diet. So originally, the word Oni was meant for all spirits and ghosts and monsters. They were just all called Onis. Generally, Oni was used for the term for male monsters. And Kiho, Kijo, was used as the term for all female monsters, or female demons and male demons. Then word Oni, it also means to be hidden or concealed. More of the modern day meanings for Oni is they refer to the supernatural creature, ghosts, obscure gods, scary yokai. Pretty much when they're brutal and violent towards humans. The monsters themselves nowadays, instead of being a vague encapsulation of all those, it's usually pointing towards a specific demon. They stand extremely large and are taller than the tallest man. Some of them are even taller than trees. They come in a variety of colors, shapes, hair, arms, horns, fangs, tusks. It's a wide variety of what they look like, whether it's two horns, two arms, green, blue, red are the most common colors. Some of them are just Onis because they have extra fingers and toes, but they usually always have like ox horns and tiger fangs inside their mouth. Usually, they are depicted wearing loincloths made from like great beasts like tigers and most common things, tiger pelt loincloths. Except in DBZ, where they're in like tracksuits. Yeah, I'd call that a tracksuit, gym suit, little white tank top and white shorts. Those guys are called Oni as well. Sometimes you can refer to ogres as Onis.
Yeah, I did see that they were classified as like other beasts that we're more common with, like ogres. There was like trolls. There was a couple.
Mm-hmm. I think that's mainly because of all their shape changing or a shape. They can come in such a variety. Maybe they get classified down. Oni is a wide. They're all Oni, but some are ogre Onis and some are troll Onis. The Onis have some special abilities. All Onis possess extreme strength and constitution. Many of them are accomplished sorcerers. They are ferocious demons. They bring about disaster. They spread disease. They actually are employed in hell as the punishers.
Love that for them.
In this economy, yeah, easy.
In this economy?
Good for them getting a job.
Yeah.
Do you want to know how to make Onis?
I am terrified of that answer, but yes, full send.
You can't really make an Oni. Well, kinda. It's extremely. You have to be very manipulative. To make an Oni, a person has to be extremely and truly wicked. When they die, they'll go to one of the many Buddhist hells where they will be transformed into a Oni and be able to be the punisher of those that were less wicked. They punish those who are not wicked enough to become Oni.
That's lovely.
So if you're gonna do it, go full send, and that way you can become an Oni. There's a chance that if you become too wicked before you die, you will transform into an Oni before you die into the material plane, where most of these stories come from any of the sightings and such. And a lot of people back in the day used to blame Onis for a bunch of disasters, even though by people wearing Oni masks, they could get away with it. When they go to hell and become transformed into Onis, they become the brutal servants of Lord Enma, who is the ruler of hell. They are given great iron clubs called kanabos, where they crush and destroy humans solely for enjoyment. There's a saying in Japan, and I'm sure other cultures as well, where it's Oni with an iron club. And that means to be invincible or undefeatable.
Okay.
It can also be used in a sense of strong beyond strong, or having one's natural quality enhanced or supplemented by the use of some tool. Some of the things they do to torment the souls down in hell, besides just destroying them, they peel the skin off people, crush their bones, and just a rendering of other torments that are kind of too brutal, is what the note said. And the Onis are usually the generals of the underworld. Any questions?
Not really. I think most of that was stuff I semi knew. Besides how to make/become an Oni.
The viewpoint of the people are starting to slightly shift on how they actually feel about the Onis. Because some villagers see them as less wicked now. They're actually and that sometimes they have a protective function to them.
Like a not bad function?
Yeah. Because men in Oni costumes often lead Japanese parades to ward off any bad luck. For example, Japanese buildings sometimes include Oni-faced roof tiles called Oni-gawara, which are thought to ward away bad luck, much like gargoyles in Western tradition. So they're slowly becoming more and more protectors and warding off bad luck.
Interesting.
There's actually a springtime festival as well. It's not really towards them being more good lucky. This is back when they were bad lucky. In the beginning of spring, there's a festival called Setsubun, where people throw soybeans outside their home and shout Oni wa Soto, Uku wa Uchi, or translated to Oni go out, blessings come in. Also, monkey statues are also thought to guard against Onis. Since the Japanese word for monkey, saru, is a homophone, or the word for leaving. Also, there is a saying that Ali can be used to guard against Onis in Japanese version. Nowadays, there is a Japanese version of tag. The player who is tagged is not it. They are the Oni. So Oni, you're it.
Oni, you're it.
You're the Oni. There was no way I found that one was actually able to defeat a Oni, just defend against them because they were demons. I'm sure there's probably some way. I have a semi-famous Japanese story. Would you like to hear it?
Full send.
Sending to the fullest. This story regards two Oni friends, a red Oni and a blue Oni. It's called Naita Akaoni, or also known as the Red Oni Who Cried. It was written by a children's author called Hirosuke Hamada in 1933. In this story, a Red Oni tries to become friends with humans, even writing friendly messages on his house and making sweets. However, Oni are known for being scary and sometimes being man-eaters. So everyone stayed away. Eventually, he asked his friend, the Blue Oni, for help on what he should do to let the humans know he was a friend. The Blue Oni comes up with a plan. He pretended to be an evil Oni and attacked the human village. And the Red Oni could heroically come in and save the humans. By chasing off the Blue Oni, they enact out this plan, and the Red Oni befriends the humans like he wanted. However, he soon realizes that his friend, the Blue Oni, hasn't come around, so he goes to the Blue Oni's house to see if something happened. He finds a letter from the Blue Oni who writes that he will stay away from the humans so that the Red Oni can still be friends with them, as the humans would recognize him as the evil Oni that attacked them. The story ends with the Red Oni crying for having lost his old friend. That one's a kind of a particularly famous story, as it got adapted into a lot of different YouTube animations, as well as being picked up in other animes and such. Like, have you ever watched ReZero?
I have not.
I think it was ReZero. Yes. It was ReZero. ReZero has two Onis. Spoilers in case you haven't seen it, even though it's from 2000 and something, 2014. But they are Rim and Ram. One has blue hair, one has red hair, or pink hair.
Hmm.
And their backstory is kind of similar, where the one with blue hair ended up kind of going through, I think the one with the red hair wanted to make friends with the humans, but the humans attacked instead. And the blue-haired sister was able to defend, but lost one of her horns, which meant she lost a lot of her power.
Ooh.
Yeah. But it's still kind of like the Oni story kind of mixed in there. They
Right.
also tell the story in the anime itself. That's all kind of I have for the information and stuff. Did you want to talk about the Oni and DVD? Let's know about it the best.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, his story's a lot more dark. It's definitely like the negative Oni side of things because he is Japanese, so it's like he's like samurai age Japanese. So it's definitely a bad omen for him to be called Oni. I can't get in trouble by like talking about his story, right?
Don't think so. Like,
Okay, I just want to double
unless
check.
unless you're in because we're rated explicit, so we should be okay.
Well, I just mean like DBD's not gonna get up. Behavior's not gonna come for our cheeks, are they?
I wouldn't think so. This is more of like a reviewing overcast of the character.
Okay, so I'm just gonna give you like the review without reading and you know making you fall asleep because everybody in here knows I can't read well. So basically, okay, so his name is Kazan Yamoka. So his father was like one of the top samurais, and he wanted to surpass that. He didn't want to just be a farmer or a samurai. He wanted to be the top warrior in his village and in Japan. So you know when you're a samurai, you're taught a code. You know, like there's a mercy code and like a like an honor code and what you should and shouldn't do in situations. And he ignored it. All of his kills are super brutal, cruel, morbid. He like takes their top knots and like keeps them for trophies and stuff. He was very sadistic with it. And one of the noble lords found out about this and started calling him Oni Yamoka. So because of the brutality and the cruel nature of his kills and what he was doing.
I was gonna say that holds up to the traditional of what an Oni description is as well.
Yeah. And he being angered by this because Oni is considered, you know, a bad omen or a cruel sign to Japan, he wants to bring honor to his family. So he sets out to butcher anybody who calls him Oni. He's like, I'm going to kill you if you call me Oni, which only furthers the Oniness. Yes, I know viewers, I know listeners. It really is. And then and he even says in the lore that he's upset that anybody could refer to him as an ogre. So, you know, we get the, you know, what they're also seen as in other cultures. So he goes on the battlefield and he finds this like destroyed Oni statue. It's like overgrown. It's got a lot of growth. Actually, you know, let me backtrack really quick. Before that, he's on his way to kill this noble lord because he's mad. Right? He's like, I'm upset. I don't want this guy calling me this. He's the one who started this rumor. I'm going to go kill him. He gets stopped by a samurai in the middle of the road, dusty farm road, whatever it is. He gets stopped by him and they fight to the death. Well, it's a really, really good fight, but Kazan,
Yes.
Oni gets stopped by this man and ends up basically winning. And he kills the man, crushes his skull, smashes his helmet into pieces, and finds out it's his father.
Ooh, yeah, that's some bad
very
luck.
Rough. And also, I don't know if I mentioned this, but
how does he identify him as his father if he crushes his face in?
He like smashed it, like the helmet stopped it from completely defacing the head, I guess, is the story there.
Did he do that with his bare hands, or did he have like a kanabo?
That's what he has a kanabo. Ooh. That's his weapon of choice. And so he kills his father. Obviously, he's devastated. He screams out in pain. He's crying. And while his eyes are closed, he used to steal the armor off of his enemies whenever he'd kill them. As his eyes are closed, thieves come and steal the father's clothes. Like poor farmers, thieves, they come and steal the father's clothes. So his samurai clothing is gone. So now he's even more pissed. He's super bitter about it. He's upset. He sees this Oni statue and it's overgrown and he gets even more mad. He's like, you know what? I'm absolutely going to deface this guy who said I could ever be this person, and I'm going to bring honor back to my father, because apparently in Oni's eyes, fire does in fact take out other fire. That's just, you know, logic standpoint here. He goes into this man's home, gets into this royal lord's home, pulls him out of his house, drags him out of a cabinet, slices his tendons to immobilize him, watches him beg and squirm like a dog, and without hesitation thrusts his fists into the lord's mouth and yanks it out. That is also the Oni's Mori for anybody who has or has not played DBD. That is his Mori. That's what he does to you. He beats the shit out of you, and then he takes your tongue.
Which sounds even more Oni-ish, because it sounds like his description of the jobs in the hell.
Right. So satisfied, he leaves the villa. He surrounds a bunch of farmers are pissed off because he just killed their lord. So they're there with pickaxes, the scythes, pitchforks, heavy clubs, anything. He ends up fighting off a good handful of these farmers, but because there's hundreds of them, they end up getting on top of him and killing him or beating him, and that's when the entity from DBD snatches him, and he became a DBD killer. And his map in the game is Yamoka. Also, if you didn't know, Ren's great grandfather, who is known as the Spirit Killer in the game. That is her great grandfather. And if anybody in here, anybody of my DVD peoples are in here and want a good fun tidbit, if you go back and watch the Oni's chapter introduction, Yui, his alternating survivor that was brought in with him into the game, is standing in the middle of a dirt road in front of her bike when they meet, just like the father was. I'm sorry, she rides up on Oni in the middle of the road, but it's very badass like. So, and then Ren, the spirit in the game, her dad gets possessed by a darkness and kills his whole family. So, like Oni adjacent possession, because everybody thought that this guy was possessed by something dark and mysterious too, because he was doing Oni like things. So yeah, it's just neat. I mean, it's pretty on the point for like the old lore and like making it fresh at the same time and making it interesting. I think he's a really good pop culture feature of the Oni. Like there's obviously, like you said, there's a lot of different Oni in all kinds of modern day movies, games, everything. But I feel like DBD did a good job capturing that, especially with the Kanobo, because when you mentioned that like some of their weapons got like more brutal, it was just a good, because if he wanted to be a samurai,
usually samurais are depicted with swords, katanas.
Yeah, exactly.
From what I've seen, samurais can also wield kanobos,
but they're far more gruesome of a weapon.
Yes,
So
a little more difficult to handle.
He's choosing to be volatile, so I just thought it was neat.
Yeah.
And his Kanobo, which I think it's most of them, but they have like the iron studs on it, and you mentioned like the iron weapons. Very neat. Very neat. Very cool tie-in.
It kind of shows how the creators of DBD paid attention to the lore of actual kind of their creatures and monsters they wanted to kind of pull into their game.
For sure, they did very well. I like all of the monsters lords in DBD. They're very neat.
The only other ogre I kind of wanted to talk about besides Ogre Oni that was kind of famous that I know the best is Ogremon from Digimon.
That's beautiful.
He's got the traditional ogre appearance with the horns and the wide mouth, the fangs.
Yeah, Oni and DBD has the mask. The mask is the horns and the open mouth and like the dislocated jaw. And it looks like there's a blackness behind it. Like you can't see his face.
Yeah.
But he also has a minotaur skin that is neat.
But I'm pretty sure everybody's seen an Oni mask at least once. Even in Avatar, The Last Airbender, Zuko becomes the blue Oni.
Yes.
The blue spirit who's an Oni. And they are also very intelligent creatures for what they are, from what I've heard. It's in Dungeons and Dragons, also has an Oni. A couple of the lesser known powers of the Oni is that they can turn invisible and they can shape change. I guess we can move on with the mayhem. I think they would bring a lot of mayhem. Even if it was just one, they could probably ruin an entire town. Because if they can go invisible.
I agree. I think that it would be like, if there was just one of them, they may not be mayhem for the whole world, but they would definitely be able to obliterate like a whole town without any problem. Maybe even a couple, to be honest, depending on how thirsty and bloodthirsty they get off of all that. If we had like decide all of them wanted to come up from hell, we had like a solid 2025 here, it could get pretty gruesome. I don't see a lot of us having the technology nor skill to take these mofos out. So,
well, I also think it'd be a little bit difficult too, because in Buddhist hell, I think there's over 100 hells.
What?
So that you could
I'd like to
possibly
leave.
be in those Onis in all of them.
I'd like to leave.
Right. And I don't know if it's true or not, but since they're also demons and they're also seen as yokai and spirits, so they can also fly and pass through things. At least I know
Yeah.
in Dungeons and Dragons they get the ability to fly. They can also cast darkness and they can turn invisible, which is just a whole mess of pretty much hit and runs. And I think if you get smacked by an Oni's Konobo at least once, you're going to go down.
Oh, you done lost all your brain marbles. Like everything fell out of your head. Like you'd get smacked once and it would just be like blah, 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 blah.
I think they'd be intelligent enough to actually not get caught and know to leave if once something that could possibly do them in comes around.
Agreed. And find a way around it, or like rejoin together to figure it out. Like I feel like it would be difficult for sure. Now, say that there is just one big Oni. You know what I mean? Like there's just one Oni.
Okay. You said big Oni.
What?
I read last night there's a certain Oni that is obsessed with hand washing. But in order to wash his hands, he hangs upside down in between two mountains. He is an extremely large Oni, like mountain-sized Oni.
Listen, with the pandemic, we need him to not come around. We just need him to not. Could you imagine introducing that man to hand sanitizer?
Oh yeah, he'd have the whole factory.
Bro, we'd have to like that would be your like sacrifice for the month to keep him from wrecking your shit. You just have to leave a bunch of hand sanitizer out on your porch and he'll just leave you alone.
I think you need like 500 gallons of hand sanitizer just to be like one little drop as big as he is from what I've seen.
Well, I'm sure, but like still, I feel like if he went around and collected from everybody like once a month, like it was Christmas, he'd be able to wash his hands one good thorough time.
Be good enough, maybe.
You know, I don't know. I don't like the vibe of that though. I'm gonna get my shit wrecked.
Like you were saying before, sorry for interrupting you.
No, you're okay. But like seriously, if there was just one big Oni, I feel like he would be intelligent enough to kind of do what we were talking about or joking about with that Oni. Like he would come in and out depending on the month, depending on the like. If he knew he was getting dangerously close to low health, he'd just hide and regenerate, and then come back out. So I feel like it'd just be terror to towns multiple times a year. Like I don't know. They definitely are higher on the mayhem meter. Maybe not Tarrasque level, but definitely a pain in the ass.
Because maybe you could warn him off by throwing soybeans out your window in the spring.
Maybe.
He'd be pretty much invincible to everything else, I imagine. Well, that's all I have. I'm sure we can still keep thinking of mayhem ideas along the way. On with the patron shoutouts.
Yeah.
Patrons this week are as following: Mondi, Thor, and Ruby Hummingbird. Thank you guys all so much for being patrons.
Ruby gets a special shout out tomorrow on my subathon for being a tier 3 patron. So, you know, she's the shit.
Be there, Ruby. Everybody, go to the subathon.
Or be square. No, they can't. You can't. Yeah, you can't tell them to go to the subathon. I'm just saying their subathon. You know, we're recording on a Thursday. On Friday.
An episode don't come out till Monday. I will be doing a subathon,
and Ruby will be shouted out on that subathon. But Ruby, it's too late to show up, so don't show up.
Yes. This comes out on a Monday.
GG's.
If you liked the episode, please leave a review, either on Apple or... Well, Apple's the only place you actually leave reviews. But on Spotify, you can give a rating.
Yeah,
please give it 5 stars, or however you feel like we deserve.
Silver was like, give us 5 stars. Nothing less. No, if you really love the podcast, it would mean a lot to drop your star level that you agree with.
It helps the podcast with visibility on the distributors' forms, whatever the word is. Slowly learning. We're almost
Yeah.
600 at this point. Listens total.
That's epic.
To Chaotix outro. It's a notebook of death. The death note, one would say. It only has the name Silver in it.
I'm going to need you to calm down, sir. It's too much. Technically, it has both our names in it, just with the outro alone. Join us again next Monday on Monsters, Myths, and Mayhem, found on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Anchor.fm. Silver and Chaotix talk about how monsters and myths came to be and how they would be received in a modern-day society. Follow, like, and subscribe to support. Also find the podcast on Twitter and Discord with the links below to keep up to date with the newest merchant activity. Besides, who knows what mayhem we might get into next.